This bill is not about empowering voters. It's not about trying out by coincidence some new schedule for how we run elections in the state of Illinois. I could talk to you about provisions of this bill, issues with voting in jail, allowing corrupt campaign practices that have been declared illegal. We're making them now legal. But at the core, this bill is a continuation of the Democrats' redistricting plan. And we continue to see that the links to maintain and sustain power know no boundaries in the state of Illinois. We have watched for weeks while redistricting activities have taken place, and we were told that time is of the essence, that we had to act now in the cover of darkness, in the cloak of night, to move forward with redistricting in the state of Illinois because certain deadlines were bearing down upon us. Now we see here that time is not of the essence, that we have plenty of time. What do we say to the advocacy groups that testified for endless hours, asking for time to review the maps, data to look at the maps? They asked for waiting until the census was delivered. They asked for having public input. They asked to be included, and we told them no. We don't have time for your voice. We don't have time for you to be included. I just can't believe what we're doing here. And the hypocrisy of these mixed messages is astounding. We have to pass the map now for the legislature. Has to be now. Ignoring the people of the state of Illinois who have called for a different way. Ignoring the 600,000 people that declared we've got to have a better way forward. This place isn't working. Our state government is broken. Let's do something differently. Their wishes have been discarded because we had to pass a map that we did just a few days ago. But unfortunately for our congressional delegation, we're going to wait, because the Democratic congressional delegation in the state of Illinois has said, we want to wait until we get the census. Of course you do. We should be using the census, and we're going to move the primary now so that we have plenty of time to draw the congressional map when the census is delivered. And for counties, I don't know what to tell you. We're going to kick the date for counties as well, and I don't know if we should use the census or the American Community Survey that's included in this bill. The mix of messages here is unbelievable, and it is all connected back to redistricting. And redistricting drives everything that we do here and accounts for so much of why our state is not working. This is not a bill about moving the primary. It's not a bill about voter empowerment. This is protection for redistricting. And as we heard from staff, we're going to look later down the road when we do receive the census and make other adjustments. I am so disappointed with the way this entire process has gone, and for decisions to be made and votes to be pushed forward in contradiction to the so many people who had genuine and earnest interest about building a better state government, that though their wishes were discarded, and now just a few days later, we're going to buy ourselves months more of time that could have been spent working together and building a better state of Illinois. I can't believe it. This is such a disappointment. Please vote no.
Chair recognizes Leader Batnick for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't think I'll need that long to make my point. There's one little small provision in here I want to speak about to the bill.
To the bill.
Political committee vehicle expenditures. This is so Illinois. We've had an auditor general that has been found in violation of campaign finance laws. So we're literally changing the law, so he retroactively was no longer in violation of those laws. The Supreme Court found him in violation. And in the other half of the case, the only reason he wasn't found in violation is because he refused to provide his own financial records. So for years we have had an auditor general, I think everybody knows what the definition of an auditor is, that's been under scrutiny for his finances, and we're changing the law to protect him. That's so Illinois. Vote no.
Chair recognizes Leader Mazzocchi for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the sponsor yield?
He indicates that he will.
First question, when it comes to independent candidates who are not affiliated with a particular party, are they going to need to actually submit any signatures for petition to get on the ballot?
That doesn't change, so yes.
Well, where does that not change? Because so are you saying that the existing rules stay in place and are not going to be changed under these rules here for 2022? Because you're changing other things for independent candidates, but you did not specify whether or how many an independent candidate needs to, how many signatures they need in order to file.
They have the same 83-day petition period as they did before.
Right. How many signatures do they need to submit?
The same amount that they had before.
Which is what, I mean, so for the House of Representatives, how many signatures is that going to be?
I'll have to look that up because it was unchanged from this bill, and I was focused on the language in this bill.
All right. Well, I'm concerned because if you're going to say that an established party candidate has to have fewer signatures than someone who's an independent party candidate, then I'm concerned about that because that's going to potentially lead to some equal protection issues. An additional issue is for an independent or new party candidate, while you've given provisions that if they're crossing county lines, they can file with the Illinois State Board of Elections. What about the filing dates when you have offices where they're fully subsumed within a county? What are the filing dates for them to file for the county clerks?
Can you elaborate? I don't know what you are referring to.
Yeah, I'm looking at the procedures that you've got in around pages 4, 5, and 6 in terms of where the petitions for nomination get filed. So petitions for nomination for congressional, judicial office, for a territorial division that's in more than one county or partly in one county, right? Those can be filed in the principal office of the State Board of Elections beginning March 28th, 2022, but no later than April 4th, 2022. So that's pages 5 to 6. But when you have a candidacy for an office that fully falls within a county, what are the filing dates?
That doesn't change based on what the language says.
Well, what's the filing location? Do they also file with the Illinois State Board of Education? Are they also going to be filing with the Illinois State Board of Elections? Or do they do, I mean, normally if you've got an office that's going to be up in November 2022, normally you would file at your county clerk if it's for any type of office that's either like your county board or something along those lines. Where are those people supposed to file? And if so, what are the dates? Because you've changed them, you know, for people who cross counties, but not if you are within a county.
The time span of filing for county board members, county officials, county executive doesn't change, just the date. So all candidates in the June primary will file where they normally would.
Okay.
That doesn't change.
Yeah, I guess the problem is that, you know, you're making changes, and you're saying that these are what you've said though, you've also got a superseding clause here in your language that says if there's any conflict, then your language shall control. And my concern is that you're changing the dates, and you've made provisions for where people file that's in dates for filing and date ranges for filing that's just fundamentally different for anybody if you cross a county but not within a county, and that's going to lead to all kinds of confusion. Finally, when it comes to this permanent mail-in ballot list, how are you going to get the dead people off the roll if you've got a permanent mailing list?
The clerks will take the dead people off the roll when they certify their death certificate.
Yeah, but the problem is our current election law and our current clerks, it only says they may take people off the rolls, not that they must or they shall. So we have no provision in Illinois law that actually does require our county clerks to actually take the dead people off the rolls. I've filed legislation on this. I've asked you for 3 years that you need to make this change so that we actually get the dead people off the rolls. At the very least, if you have to show up and request a mail-in ballot, that might be able to catch them. But if you're creating a permanent mail-in ballot list, that's yet another invitation for fraud because the county clerks do
Representative
not have to remove
Mazzocchi,
them.
can you wrap
Thank
up
you.
your
I'm
question?
done.
That was the third and final speaker in opposition. Chair recognizes Representative Stewart for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I realize it's already almost 6 o'clock and we have a lot of work to do, but I really felt that I needed to speak on this a little bit.
To the bill.
To the bill. The characterization that this is simply a power grab and ignoring all the voter empowerment and other things that myself and many members of the House Women's Democratic Caucus studied and researched and worked on for months. Multiple 8 a.m. Monday morning meetings, bright and early. Our staff, James Hartman, Madeline McCune, helping us pull in experts from across the country on election law, bring in county clerks, Board of Elections, and everybody else that we needed to talk to and dive down into these details. We want people to vote. We want people to vote. I think that's a big difference. We're seeing across the country areas where they're trying to stop people from voting, and our work was focused on how to make sure that people had access to the ballot, because that's something as Democrats that we believe really strongly in. I just wanted to highlight a couple of the things, and I have to thank Representative West for carrying this bill. I appreciate it. I know that there's lots of good things in here that we've talked about that we're excited about. Some of the things that we worked and discussed at length, the Election Day holiday. The Election Day holiday, practically, it makes those schools and universities locations where voting can happen, and that's a good thing. But the other thing is, it speaks to the importance of voting, which is the most basic and fundamental tenet of our democracy. It's telling people that voting matters, voting is important, and voting is how your voice is heard. And we recognize that by making it our state holiday. Making sure that high school students, we made sure that we are increasing civics education. So as we're educating them about civics, let's make sure they get that registration part of the piece. Let them see it happening in their high school so that when they turn 18, they know that they're going to be able to vote. I think I told the story before about when I was in high school at West Orange High School, Miss Palmar's English class, League of Women Voters came in and they were registering people to vote, and I was going to be 4 days too young and miss the 1988 election. And ever since then, I have been an avid voter, and I know the importance of voting. So making sure that high school principals and superintendents know that we support them bringing in nonpartisan groups to host registration drives, I think is a really important step. The permanent vote by mail list. We have a lot of folks who like voting by mail. We have a lot of folks who practically it's the best way for them to vote. We have a lot of folks who just, they know that they're in the wintertime, snowbirds or whatever you call it, they are always out of their area but want to vote in their elections. Letting them choose to put themselves on a permanent list so that they can be, they're not going to miss the application, and they're going to make sure that that ballot comes to them is going to increase voter turnout and increase participation in our elections. And I'm really excited to see that as part of this legislation. Another thing that was really important to us was making sure that things are consistent so that voters across the state are having the same experience. So the pieces that talk about election authority giving guidance, making sure that ballot tracking and the proper vernacular and terminology is the same across the board to make things clear and just clear for voters is also a really important piece of this puzzle. So I'll wrap up. Voting is fundamental. Voting is what we as Democrats want to do. And we want people to vote, we want people to get registered, and we are doing what we can to modernize and update our voting system. Thank you. I please encourage everyone to vote aye. Thank you.
Representative West to close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will allow Representative Stewart's comments to be my closing remarks. I urge that I vote.
On this question, shall Senate Bill 825 pass? All in favor vote aye. Opposed vote nay. The voting is open. Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? Have all voted who wish? Mr. Clerk, please take the record. On this question, there are 72 voting in favor, 46 voting opposed, 0 voting present. This bill, having received a constitutional majority, is hereby declared passed.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.